name is Desiree, aka Mama Friendly, and I do all sorts of videos on my channel, from cooking videos to planner videos, vlogs, hauls, homeschool videos with a Disney twist, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope that you'll subscribe and join me on my YouTube adventure. This video is a collab hosted by Tamara of Southern Wife Everyday Life. And every single month in 2022, I've brought you guys a Cuban recipe to highlight my culture and heritage, but also to make these foods more easily accessible to me, a Cuban that hasn't had many of them in a long time because I don't eat gluten or dairy, and so I've kind of had to adapt some of these recipes as I go. This recipe in particular needed no adaptation. It is naturally allergy friendly, and it is also super easy and super delicious. It is a staple of Cuban meals, especially over the holidays. So this is a cookbook collab. That means that we're going to be using a recipe out of a cookbook in hopes that we will inspire our viewers to do the same with their own cookbooks. And I am going to be using a recipe from Latin American paleo cooking. I have used this cookbook on the channel before. I'll have it linked in the description box below in case you're interested in getting a copy for your very own. While you're in the description box, make sure you check out the link to Tamara's channel and also a link to the playlist so that after you've watched my video, you can see what everybody else put together for their collab this month. And the recipe that I'm going to be making with you all today is fried yuca with mojo. Now yuca, or cassava, I think it's known as in English, is a root vegetable. It's very starchy. It can be very fibrous depending on the preparation basically. And usually you find it boiled, served with an onion, citrusy, garlicky sauce. But the very next day, when there's leftover, you can take that boiled yuca and fry it, and it just takes on a whole other life. It is so good. So I'm cooking out of a paleo cookbook, but the only thing that makes this recipe paleo as opposed to like a regular yuca frita is that the recipe here wants you to use either an animal fat or coconut oil for frying. I used regular vegetable oil because it's what I had on hand. It's what Abuela always used. So that automatically makes mine not paleo, but that's really the only difference. So the cooking fat that you use is what's going to determine whether this is a paleo recipe or not. If you're just here because you want to learn how to make yuca frita, you're in the right place regardless. And as far as the mojo, every family has their own way of approaching it. The recipe in the book was not quite what my family and I do. If you want to see how the recipe in the book goes, I actually covered that recipe once before in the lechon asado video. So I'll post the lechon asado video up here, another great recipe to have during the holidays. But at the end of this video, I will show you how I make my family's version of mojo for your yuca, and it is just amazing, if I do say so myself. So now that I've set it all up for you, let me go ahead and show you how I made this super simple Cuban side dish. All right, friends, so we're going to make our fried yuca, and this is something that I really like eating and I like the idea of. I've never made it myself, so we're going on this journey together. But the idea of fried yuca is that, first off, it's delicious, it's fried. How could you go wrong? But also, it's a great way to kind of give new life to leftovers if you have boiled yuca with mojo. And either frying it or boiling, it's going to start with the actual yuca root or cassava root. I bought a bag of the frozen kind because the fresh kind looks like this, and it would have required chopping and peeling. And the last time I used a vegetable peeler, I took off the tip of my thumb. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to go ahead and use this stuff that's already peeled. And again, whether you want your end product to be just boiled or fried, it's all going to start the same way, which is peeled, chopped, and boiled until it's tender. And then you want to take out the rooty, woody sort of stuff in the center that's a little hard and not super pleasant to eat. I think that showing you guys how to make it from frozen is also going to be helpful because I'm going to guess most of the country does not have the access to tropical fruits, vegetables, roots, etc. that I do here in South Florida. You're much likelier to find it frozen like this in your grocery store's frozen section. So this way we're all starting out on the same foot. So I'm gonna take, the recipe says to use 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds, but really it's just gonna be me and my husband eating this. So I'm just gonna grab like a few of these and we're going to boil them until they're tender. So it's gonna be covered with about 2 inches of water. So however much it takes to cover the yuca plus 2 inches of water, I'm going to salt the water and I'm going to bring it to a boil over high heat. And once it's boiling, we're gonna lower it to a slow boil and cook it uncovered for about 25 to 30 minutes until it's easily pierced with a fork. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so we finished boiling our yuca and I just drained the pot and you can see that it's fork tender. So it is cooked. At this point, you could refrigerate it if you wanted to. Let it cool down first, of course, and you can fry it up the next day, or you could cook it a little further and just serve it with some mojito, but we are going to make fries. So I'm going to transfer these to a plate now, and actually this is perfect right here. You see this sort of woody middle bit that I pulled out here? Let's see if the camera will focus. See that sort of woody stem? It's not harmful or anything, but it's not very appealing to eat. So I'm going to cut the yuca into sort of more traditional fry shapes. Again, not necessary, but it's just something that I'm going to do. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to take care to remove this particular woody sort of veiny thing that's in the middle, just because it's very hard when you chew on it. So again, it's just not pleasant. It's not unsafe, it's just not pleasant. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna cut this up into fry shapes, and then I'm gonna clean out the pot because I'm gonna use this same pot for frying. You don't need anything anywhere near this deep. I just don't want to have to dirty 2 pots. So this pot now has been cleaned and dried. I have it on medium heat, and I'm just gonna use vegetable oil, about, I don't know, it says to use about 1/4 cup. So I'm not using enough to deep fry it, but probably a little more than I'd use for shallow frying. I'm gonna let this come up to temperature for, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes over medium-high heat. If you wanted to make this paleo, you would use avocado oil, lard, or even coconut oil. Coconut oil is going to impart a taste on the yuca that's not really meant to be there, but maybe you're willing to do that in order to have the not so great unhealth benefits of vegetable oil out of your life. Completely understandable. I have vegetable oil on hand and it's what my abuela would have used, so that's what I'm gonna go with. And so now that we have our yuca sticks ready, see, so they're not perfectly fry shaped, but I think that that's what makes them more homey, right? It's comida casera. It's not supposed to be perfect. So once the oil comes up to temperature, I'm going to add the yuca. I don't want to crowd the pan, but I'm going to add a good amount in there. And I'm going to let them fry for 2 to 3 minutes per side until they're lightly golden brown and crispy on the outside. If you need to add more oil as you go, by all means. Remember, the yuca is already completely cooked, so all that we want right now is just for the texture and the color to become appealing to us. We want it crunchy, we want it golden, but it's already safe to eat just as is, so don't worry about that. Now for me personally, I feel like you can't have yuca frita or otherwise without some mojito to throw over the top of it. And of course, like everyone else, I think my mom makes it the best. So I asked my mom for her recipe. Everybody makes theirs a little different, but this is how we do ours. So you're going to take some olive oil and put it in a pan. Of course, there's no measurements because, like I said, I asked my mom for the recipe. So she just said, un poquito de esto, un poquito de esto, and that was pretty much it. So measure with your heart. Keep going until your ancestors say, stop, coño. And you pretty much got it down. So olive oil in a pan. Then we're going to chop up an onion. We're going to throw that in there along with some minced garlic. We're going to saute it for a couple of minutes. You want them to kind of start to cook, but you want the onion to retain a little bit of its crunch. After a couple minutes, we're gonna add some salt and some pepper to taste, and then we're gonna add some naranja agria, as much as you like. Again, there's no measurements here. You're going to kind of warm all that together for another minute or so, just so that everything comes together. And voila, mojito ready for your yuca frita to serve. This is delicious. All right, friends, there you have it. I told you, super simple, easy peasy. The payoff is amazing. It is so delicious. Really crunchy, really satisfying. It goes with literally everything as a side dish. And like I was saying, you really can't have a Cuban holiday meal without the yuca frita on the table. So now this year, I've taught you to make lechon asado. I've taught you to make moros, yuca frita, and flan. You have the makings for an entire Cuban holiday spread if you so desire. And don't you worry, I'm going to continue sharing my Cuban recipes every single month in 2023. So if you want to keep learning how to make these delicious, authentic meals, you're in the right place. I hope that you'll subscribe and continue to join me on this adventure. And of course, before you go, I want to remind you to check out the link in the description box so you could see what all my friends made for their cookbook collabs. I want to thank Tamara once again for hosting. This collab has been so much fun. Hopefully we'll see it again in the new year. But in any case, I want to thank you all so much for being here and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope that you will please give it a big thumbs up. I'd also love it if you'd subscribe and click that notification bell, because I post at least 3 times a week and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. Happy holidays and have a fantastic new year. Bye!